How many negative thoughts do you think you have each day? And how often does negativity or criticism come to your thoughts about yourself and even about other people? If I'm being honest, I think negativity is just a default setting for my brain, and I have to work at it really hard to think not just positively, but in a different light, in a way that is more productive. Today, we're going to dig deeper into the negativity, that self-talk, and the patterns that we've created through our thoughts that sometimes do not serve us well and don't help us be the best that we can be for ourselves and for the people around us. So buckle up, grab a pen and paper, and let's get to it. Have you ever felt held back by self-doubt, whether it's speaking up in a meeting or connecting with others or simply just believing in your own worth? Well, you're not alone. Welcome to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. I'm Heather Edwards, Master Certified Life Coach, and my goal is to empower you to step into your most authentic, confident self. Here, you're going to discover practical strategies and powerful insights to help you improve your communication, deepen those relationships, and elevate your self-esteem. And each week, I'm going to guide you through some actionable tips and mindset shifts that are specifically designed to help you break free from fear, show up boldly in every area of your life, and build crazy confidence. Are you ready to stop hiding in the shadows, playing small, and avoiding the spotlight? Grab your favorite pen and a notebook, and let's get to it. Why is it important to improve your thoughts? And what can happen if you don't? When you do some research about how many thoughts we have in a day, it's anywhere from 6,000 to 60,000. And the research shows that around 80% of those are negative thoughts for some of us. And if you think about what does that do to your brain? Like, what does that do to the way you show up in the world? And really and truly, if you repeat something that's negative over and over, it creates a belief for you in your ability and in what you believe about yourself, and it's really destructive. It's even believed that negative thinking can lead to the following: anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, increased stress, weaker immune system, sleep disturbances, which, oh my goodness, maybe that's part of my problem. I don't sleep very well. Relationship issues, difficulty achieving goals, disoriented perceptions of your reality. And what I mean by that is you don't believe things about yourself that are just not true, or about other people that are not true. Decision-making impairment and not being creative. You have reduced creativity and problem-solving abilities. So when you're stuck in negative patterns, you don't believe you can do something. You delay them, you procrastinate them, you can't get moving forward. It impacts everything. It impacts your relationships, which I already said, but think about how your thoughts about yourself impact how you show up to your husband or your spouse or your children when you come home, or when you're at work, how you're showing up to your coworkers. Let's talk about a few ways you can get in control of your negative thoughts and create a more sustainable, feel-good self-talk that'll help you grow your confidence and your belief in yourself. First of all, let me say this. I am not an advocate for toxic positivity. I understand that every thought that we have is not going to be positive. Every thought I have is definitely not positive. But if you just take time to work on a few of your negative thoughts, over time that grows into more confidence and grows into more reality, I guess. Reality of what the truth is, and you can work through there. Versus being stuck in these negative patterns that keep you stuck, frustrated, and not motivated. So let's think about this a little bit differently. Negative thoughts can be thought errors. And what I mean by that is they're a habit or something that you picked up maybe from something somebody else has told you in the past. I've told this story before in a different podcast, but when I was in grade school, 5th grade, I believe, I had a teacher and I was really, really good at math. I could do a math problem without really doing my work. And so oftentimes I would have the answer on my paper, but I wouldn't do the work. And back then, They wanted you to show your work, so I guess you're not cheating or whatever. But I was also in a competitive local, like a school program where I could compete with math, and I did really well. But this particular teacher was kind of negative in the way he would answer your questions. What he would say to you was really rude, and it made me think I wasn't good at math. Just the way he talked to me, the way he talked down to me, the way he was rude to me, it was not motivating to me at all. So from then on, I always had this thought, I'm horrible at math. I can't do this. I look back on that and I wish that someone had intervened at that time, and I would probably be a different person today. Now, I work on that now, of course. I've identified that as an issue for me and I work on it. But if I had worked on it back then, it might look different. So what do you have that's similar to that? That somebody told you something about yourself that you believed, you took it on, and then you owned it without any truth to it. That is something that is a problem for us if we're not willing to go to work and go to bat for ourselves. The last thing that can be attached to negative thoughts is they just develop over time. And this is when you're interpreting experiences you've had in life or situations, and maybe you just once or twice were late to something and all of a sudden, I'm just a person who's always late. And so you create that over and over and over instead of taking it by the hand and saying, nope, I'm not a person that was late. I was late 2 times or I was late before, but that does not mean that I own it, that I'm always late. Does this make sense? Hopefully it does. One thing that is important is to create a formula or at least a process that you use to improve upon what you discover when you do an evaluation of yourself or when you figure out that you have negative thought patterns. Because a lot of times we're just like, oh, I wish I didn't think like this. And you spiral and you keep thinking and you don't do anything different, or you make a statement like, oh, I'm not going to believe that thought, but then it just keeps coming back because it has become your default. So many of us spend these hours like shaming and blaming ourselves, over criticizing ourselves. And although there isn't anything wrong with wanting to do better or be better, we have to also have a process for how to do that and how to move through the process of getting rid of those negative thoughts. One thing I have noticed is when I am coaching people, there are so many of us, so many of the people that I coach, so many people I meet in the real world that are borderline bullies to themselves. Now, when I say that, I just mean they're really, really difficult on themselves. So I'm going to ask you, how do you speak to yourself in your brain? How do you think about the things that you do on a daily basis, and how do you process it when you make a mistake? Stop right now, and I want you to do this little exercise. I want you, and if you're driving a car, obviously don't stop, keep driving. But I want you to think about this right now, and I want you to come up with 5 compliments for yourself. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be physical, it can be work related, it could be with your spouse and your children, whatever it is. I want you to compliment yourself on 5 things that you do really well. If this takes you less than a few minutes or even a minute to do the task, congratulations, you're doing fantastic. But if it takes you forever to figure this out, then it is probably something you need to work on, finding the things that you're good at and finding the things about yourself that are worth celebrating. So when I find a client or I ask a client this, I can see a person who is really struggling with their self-worth or their confidence by how well they know themselves or how well they know the things that they're good at, the things that are positives in their life, because they don't think about it. They just clearly don't think about it on a daily basis or a weekly basis or even a monthly basis. You can tell that they're caught up in all the things that don't go right. We are conditioned to find what is wrong, not as what is right. Now, I want you to do the opposite. I want you to think of 5 things you're not good at. Where do you feel that you struggle? Where are the places that you feel shame or know that you aren't great? Hopefully, it takes you forever to this exercise, the reverse, meaning it takes you a long time because you don't think of those things very often. But if it's something you can come up with really quick, that again is a sign that you need to work on your negative thought patterns. It's a sign that you need to work on getting better if you don't want to feel negative or critical of yourself often. When I coach clients, I can usually spot a person who's struggling to feel good about themselves and about the work in the world that they're doing simply by the words they use. Especially when someone uses phrases like, I never do this, or it's never good enough, or I have to, or I've tried over and over and it doesn't work, or simple phrases that give me these little clues that they're stuck somewhere in the negative process or in the critical place, and they're not willing to push through that. Or maybe they're willing, they just don't know how. So that's what this is for. I want you to think about, do you constantly get discouraged? Are you constantly tense? Are you self-doubting? Are you critical? Those are signs that you are stuck in negative thought patterns. And it can be really difficult to get unstuck. If you want to be helped with this, because it's something I do with my clients, I'm actually really good at it. I'm a master at helping people get unstuck and find those triggers or those words that are keeping them there and in that spiraling place. And it's really not that hard to break patterns. Once you know what they are, you just have to take the first step and identify them. But if you want help identifying them, go and just sign up for one session and we'll get you lined out there. Because your thought patterns are what's driving the rest of your behavior. If you want to identify them on your own, it's pretty easy to do that too. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pay attention to how you feel before and after work conversation, relationships conversations, or the beginning of the day when you're getting ready. What are your thoughts in your mind about yourself and about the day and about what you need to do? Do you feel stressed and frustrated, or do you feel relaxed and positive? What about at home with your spouse and your children? Are your thoughts stuck in panic mode? Are you frustrated with your kids and your husband all the time? Do you feel irritated or mad? Are you filled with enjoyment and appreciation? Those are two opposite situations. Do you know it's possible to feel enjoyment and appreciation as your everyday feelings about your family, friends, and your work? It is possible. Is it perfect, meaning every single day is enjoyable and you're feeling appreciation and just in la la land? No, not every day. But it is possible to have more of the enjoyment and the joy than it is the other. Get a small notebook and put in your notes the thoughts that you have before conversations and after conversations, before your day starts and after your day starts. Do you recognize any patterns? How do the thoughts you have, how do they make you feel? It's not always about feeling good, but it's important to recognize when you have a thought pattern that isn't true or one that you'd like to change. The reality is you cannot change something that you're not aware of. So make sure you take time to notice your negative thoughts, whether they're about you, about other people, or about what you're doing or what you're not doing. Are they productive thoughts? One thing that is really good to do is use an evaluation method that is simple. So when you leave a conversation and you write down your notes, it's a fun thing that I teach my clients. And it's really simple. 3 questions. What went right? What went wrong? What can I do better next time? You walk away in literally less than a minute with actionable steps that you can take next time you have that conversation that is similar to that or a situation that is similar. And what is so good about that is that you're not making it this big, heavy process. It's just a simple, real quick, what went right? What went wrong? What can I do better next time? And just leaving it there. You don't have to shame yourself. You don't have to blame yourself. You don't have to overanalyze it. You simply make the answers to the question and make a plan to what to do better next time and move on. Let that critical voice be subdued a little bit by creating action. And when you create action that feels better, you create confidence because you know that you are capable of doing it better next time and you'll do it better next time. It really helps you get into a place of empowerment versus that feeling of hopelessness. The thing to know is that your critical voice in your head is used for good in human nature. It's there to protect you from something that might hurt you or even from things that you're scared to do. But in today's time, we overuse that protection mechanism and it becomes a weapon for us without us even knowing it. So when we're using what would be something to help us from a bear or being attacked from a lion or noticing some threat, it is something that we actually turn on ourselves because now very few of us end up in that situation where we're having that exact situation of running from something or being truly threatened by something. Another way to check your thoughts is to ask yourself if you would say what your thought is out loud to a friend or to 5-year-old you. Consider how you would feel if you used the same thoughts on someone else or if they use that thought on you. If it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't seem right, then it's probably not right. If you wouldn't, then just take that as a cue to stop using that self-talk on yourself. If the thought pattern is pervasive and you cannot break it, create a new thought to replace it, and then just practice that new thought each time that old thought comes up. When you catch yourself, just repeat the new thought and move on. And over time, you're going to break that habit of that negative thought, but it takes some time. Don't expect it to happen right away, but over and over, if you have the thought, repeating a different thought that is better and can be a latter thought or a thought that is maybe neutral or not as negative to you, it works to break your habit. Another way to help reframing your thoughts is to collect evidence for and against your own judgment on yourself. What proof can you find that you are more capable, that you've done it right before, that you can figure it out? Give yourself credit for that. So one thing that's interesting to me is when people tell me things like, I just can't figure it out, or I just don't know how to do that. I remind them that you've probably learned to ride a bike and you probably felt the same way. You've probably learned to walk. Even though children don't look at it that way, they just kept getting up and kept going. You probably have learned how to cook or drive a car. All those things are things that at one point probably seemed a little impossible. You might have burned a few meals. You might have even had a car accident when you first started driving a car. There are all kinds of things that we've done and we felt like we could never do them. And then ultimately we became someone who could do them. And if that's all you have as proof, start there. Start there that you've done those things and you just have to be persistent and keep going. My favorite way of catching the negative self-talk patterns is to keep a journal and then just write out my thoughts each day. And it's something of a brain dump, just writing down all the things that happen, all the thoughts that you have, and what thoughts you can remember. And then what I find really fun and interesting about this is to go back and see where my thoughts are now compared to what they were before. But a practical way to use that each day is just picking one thought to work on and improve upon it. One day, one thought, and work on that. So there's going to be a few thoughts that come up that are going to be repetitive. They're going to be patterns, and maybe patterns that come up in different ways, or like an underlying issue that comes up in different ways, and work on those. When you see those come up, work on those. Pick that to work on. It may be something you have to work on every day. It may be something you work on each week, but those are the things that will get you the furthest, is working on those underlying issues that keep recurring and coming up. Keep in mind, time is your friend here, and it just takes time to make this happen. It takes time and practice and awareness. It's not easy, but it's also not hard. It just takes time and taking on a mindset that you are going to be working on yourself. You're going to be more mindful of the thoughts you have. You're going to increasingly catch yourself with negativity. You're going to turn it into positivity. You're going to work on finding thoughts that are more productive for you, that are more true and more authentic about yourself. And you're going to invest in becoming better one thought at a time. It isn't a very difficult thing. I tell you, this is like one of my favorite things, because I see when people do this part, when they work on their thoughts and they truly give it the time and effort it deserves, they make and see changes so fast. It's incredible. So if you are someone who wants help to find your patterns, sign up for a coaching session. If you are someone who is just going to do it on your own, take these things that I've pointed out this episode and just go through them and do them. Make it a habit to yourself to break patterns that you find. You'll continue to find them. Even as you work on yourself, you'll continue to find them as you get more mature, as you get older, as you go into different experiences. There's always opportunities for improvement. I hope you enjoy this. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget, right now I still have discounts on all of my programs, and they are pretty big and pretty deep. So if you haven't looked recently at booking a session, go to HC Edwards Coaching and book a session. And I hope to talk to you soon, but I'll definitely see you next week. Take care. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It has been a blast. I would love for you to do me a huge favor and either go leave a rating or a review. And if you really love the podcast or you've learned anything at all, please pass it on to a friend or a family member that might enjoy the podcast as well. That's how I grow, and that's how I'm able to continue bringing you content. If you are interested in coaching, just go to thecrazyconfidencecoach.com. You can sign up for a free discovery call there. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you next Tuesday so we can build our crazy confidence together. Love you big.